In life, we are often torn between two powerful forces, one pulling us toward kindness, love, and peace, and the other dragging us down with anger, envy, and resentment. These opposing forces live within every single one of us, influencing the choices we make and shaping the lives we lead. But the real question is, which one will you let dominate? There's a famous Native American parable that illustrates this internal struggle in the simplest yet most profound way. It's called The Tale of Two Wolves, and it goes like this. An old Cherokee man was teaching his grandson about life. Inside every person, there is a battle between two wolves, he said to the boy. One wolf is evil. It's full of anger, envy, sorrow, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, and ego. He paused for a moment, letting those heavy words sink in. The other wolf is good. It is full of joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, empathy, generosity, truth, and compassion, the old man continued. These two wolves are constantly fighting inside every person, and the same battle is happening inside you. The grandson, deeply troubled by this internal conflict, thought for a moment and then asked, "But grandfather, which wolf will win?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." This simple parable carries an immense amount of wisdom that has transcended cultures and centuries. And as you hear it, I'm sure you can feel its relevance today, in your own life. We all have moments where we face this internal battle. Should we give in to anger or rise above it with compassion? Should we let envy take over or celebrate the success of others? Every day presents us with choices, and every choice we make feeds either the good wolf or the bad wolf. But the reality is, in a world that's constantly testing our patience, our empathy, and our sense of self-worth, feeding the good wolf is far from easy. Think about it. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a friend betrays you, when life throws challenges your way, what's your immediate reaction? It's the bad wolf that stirs up first, isn't it? That quick anger, that bitterness, that need for retribution. But here's the truth. Every time we let the bad wolf win, we empower it. Every time we give in to those darker impulses, we make them stronger. And yet at the same time, we all yearn for peace. We want to feel the warmth of compassion, the joy of kindness, the lightness that comes from letting go of grudges. That's the good wolf. But it's not just going to show up and win without your effort. You have to feed it intentionally with every choice you make. So let me ask you, which wolf do you feed? Let's dive deeper into these wolves, these two forces that live within us, shaping our minds and our hearts. On one hand, we have the good wolf, the embodiment of all that is virtuous and positive. The good wolf represents compassion, love, humility, and kindness. It thrives on forgiveness, understanding, and selflessness. On the other hand, we have the bad wolf. The bad wolf is driven by anger, resentment, greed, and jealousy. It feeds on negative emotions like fear, hatred, and ego. It wants nothing more than to tear you down, and it does so in subtle but powerful ways. But here's the tricky part. These wolves are not physical beings. They're not something you can touch or see. They live within your mind, quietly influencing your thoughts, emotions, and actions. And while they're invisible, their effects are very, very real. Take a moment to reflect. How often have you fed your bad wolf this week? Maybe you lashed out in anger or held onto a grudge longer than you should have. Or perhaps you've been envious of someone else's success, letting that envy fester inside you. It's okay, we've all done it. But it's important to recognize that these moments, these small choices, they add up. Every time we feed the bad wolf, it grows stronger. And the stronger it gets, the more it will dominate your thoughts, your actions, and ultimately, your life. But there's good news. You can choose to feed the good wolf. Even if you fed the bad wolf for years, you can still change. That's the beauty of this parable. It reminds us that we are in control of this internal battle. We have the power to decide which wolf wins. The most powerful lesson from this tale is that it's not about eliminating the bad wolf. You can't, and you won't. The bad wolf is a part of you, just as much as the good wolf. But what you can do is decide which one gets stronger and which one influences your life more. So the real question is not, can I stop the bad wolf from existing? but rather, which wolf am I feeding today? This parable, while simple, contains a profound truth about human nature. It shows us that every emotion we feel, every action we take, and every word we speak is a choice. And those choices either empower the good wolf or the bad wolf. But what does it mean to feed these wolves? How do our everyday actions play into this internal battle? Let's explore that next. The story of the two wolves teaches us that what we focus on grows. If we focus on anger, resentment, and fear, the bad wolf will dominate. But if we choose kindness, compassion, and understanding, the good wolf will thrive. Now that we understand the basic premise, let's dive deeper into each of these wolves. What do they represent and how do they show up in our lives? More importantly, how can we begin to feed the good wolf more often and starve the bad wolf? We'll explore that next as we take a closer look at the good wolf and the powerful qualities it brings into our lives. Let's begin by focusing on the good wolf, because understanding its nature is the first step toward feeding it more often. The good wolf represents the qualities we all aspire to embody: compassion, peace, love, empathy, and generosity. These are not just abstract virtues, they are concrete actions and ways of being that positively impact our mental health, our relationships, and even our overall sense of purpose in life. Imagine a moment when you chose kindness over anger, when you decided to forgive instead of holding on to a grudge. Do you remember how light you felt afterward? That's the good wolf at work. It brings a sense of peace, joy, and calm that nothing else can provide. Compassion is one of the good wolf's greatest strengths. When we act with compassion, we not only make the world a better place for others, but we also nurture a sense of connection and fulfillment within ourselves. Think of a time when you helped a friend in need or showed empathy to someone who was struggling. The warmth and satisfaction you felt afterward, that's the reward of feeding the good wolf. Studies have shown that practicing compassion has measurable benefits. People who regularly engage in acts of kindness tend to experience lower levels of stress, greater happiness, and even better physical health. It's as if by feeding the good wolf, you're also feeding your soul, nourishing it with positivity and meaning. But compassion isn't just about helping others, it's also about how we treat ourselves. How many times have you been overly critical of yourself, perhaps after making a mistake? The good wolf encourages self-compassion, reminding us that we are human, that we will stumble, and that it's okay to forgive ourselves. By showing ourselves the same kindness we offer to others, we strengthen the good wolf within us, allowing it to grow and influence more of our decisions. Peace is another vital aspect of the good wolf. It's the quiet strength that allows you to remain calm amid chaos. Life is full of challenges, stressful jobs, strained relationships, financial difficulties. But the good wolf teaches us that peace doesn't come from eliminating these problems. Instead, it comes from how we respond to them. Think about the last time you faced a difficult situation. Did you react immediately with frustration, or were you able to take a step back, breathe, and handle it with patience and calm? When you chose the latter, you were feeding the good wolf. Inner peace is often mistaken for passivity, but it's anything but. It's a powerful force that helps us navigate life's storms without losing ourselves in the process. It doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means approaching them with clarity and a calm mind. Feeding the good wolf with peace allows you to move through life with resilience, handling stress and adversity without being overwhelmed by it. Joy and gratitude are two more aspects of the good wolf that often go hand in hand. Joy is not just about feeling happy when things are going well. It's about finding a sense of contentment and appreciation, even in the small moments of life. It's about recognizing the beauty in the world, the goodness in people, and the blessings we often overlook. Gratitude, in particular, is a powerful way to feed the good wolf. When we focus on what we're grateful for, we shift our mindset away from scarcity and dissatisfaction toward abundance and fulfillment. Numerous studies in positive psychology have shown that practicing gratitude can lead to better sleep, improved mental health, and a stronger sense of overall well-being. Now let's turn our attention to the bad wolf, the one we often feed without even realizing it. This wolf thrives on negative emotions like anger, envy, resentment, and fear. While the good wolf is all about building us up and connecting us to others, the bad wolf is focused on tearing us down and isolating us. Anger is one of the most powerful tools of the bad wolf. It's a natural emotion, but when left unchecked, it can consume us. Think of how anger feels in your body. It's like a fire burning inside, one that can be hard to control once it's ignited. A single moment of unchecked anger can destroy relationships, damage reputations, and even lead to violence. And the worst part, after the anger subsides, it often leaves us feeling worse, not better. But the bad wolf is sneaky. It convinces us that anger is justified and that holding on to it gives us power. It tells us that by staying angry, we're somehow protecting ourselves from being hurt again. But in reality, all we're doing is feeding the bad wolf, making it stronger. Envy is another emotion the bad wolf loves to feast on. In today's world of social media, where we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's successes and happiness, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. Why does that person have a better job? How can they afford such a beautiful house? Why do they seem so happy while I'm struggling? The bad wolf thrives in these moments of jealousy. It whispers in our ears, telling us that we're not good enough, that we're lacking in some way. But envy is a poison. The more we let it fester, the more it erodes our sense of self-worth. Instead of celebrating the success of others, we start to resent them, which only serves to isolate us further. Resentment is another favorite of the bad wolf. Holding on to grudges, refusing to forgive, and dwelling on past wrongs, all of these are ways we feed the bad wolf. Resentment is a heavy burden to carry. It weighs us down, drains our energy, and keeps us stuck in a cycle of negativity. And yet many of us cling to it, believing that by doing so, we're somehow getting back at those who've wronged us. But here's the truth. Resentment hurts no one but ourselves. The person we're angry with may have moved on, while we're still stuck reliving the hurt over and over again. Every time we refuse to forgive, we're not punishing them. We're punishing ourselves. And in doing so, we're giving the bad wolf even more power. Fear is perhaps the most insidious weapon in the bad wolf's arsenal. Fear of failure, rejection, and the unknown can paralyze us, keeping us from pursuing our dreams and living our lives to the fullest. The bad wolf uses fear to keep us small, make us doubt our abilities, and convince us that it's safer to stay in our comfort zones. But here's the thing about fear. It's not real. It's a product of our imagination, a projection of what might happen. When we feed into fear, we're giving power to something that doesn't even exist. And the more we feed that fear, the more it controls our decisions, leading us to live lives that are smaller and less fulfilling than they could be. Let's take a look at how these wolves show up in everyday life, so you can start to recognize when you're feeding the good wolf or the bad wolf. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague receives a promotion you were hoping to get. You feel a pang of envy. The bad wolf perks up, ready to feast. "Why didn't I get that promotion?" it whispers. "They don't deserve it as much as I do." At that moment, you have a choice. You can feed the bad wolf, letting envy take over, or you can choose to celebrate your colleague's success and feed the good wolf. Or perhaps you've disagreed with a friend. The bad wolf encourages you to hold on to that resentment, replaying the argument over and over in your mind. But what if instead, you chose to feed the good wolf by reaching out, offering forgiveness and moving forward? These moments may seem small, but they add up. Each time you choose which wolf to feed, you're shaping the person you become. And the more you feed the good wolf, the stronger it gets, making it easier to choose kindness, compassion, and peace in the future. We've seen how these two wolves manifest in our lives, and it's clear that the choices we make determine which one grows stronger. But what happens when we consistently feed the bad wolf? How does it impact not just our emotions, but our relationships, our careers, and even our health? In the next section, we'll explore the consequences of feeding the bad wolf too often, and what it takes to reverse that damage and bring balance back into our lives. Feeding the bad wolf may start small, a moment of frustration here, a flash of envy there. But over time, those moments add up. Just like any habit, the more we engage with negative emotions, the easier it becomes to feed them. What starts as a single spark of anger can quickly turn into a wildfire of resentment, dissatisfaction, and stress, consuming not only your thoughts, but your life as a whole. Let's take a closer look at the consequences of feeding the bad wolf too often. When you constantly feed the bad wolf, it starts to impact your mental and emotional health in significant ways. Negative emotions like anger, jealousy, and resentment don't just affect you at the moment. They leave a lasting imprint on your mind and body. Think of how it feels to be consumed by anger. Your heart races, your muscles tense, and your mind narrows its focus to whatever triggered your frustration. These physical responses are hardwired into us. They're part of the body's fight or flight response, designed to protect us in dangerous situations. But in today's world, most of our stressors aren't life-threatening. They're emotional or psychological, yet our bodies react the same way. Feeding the bad wolf keeps you in this heightened state of stress for longer periods. When anger, fear, or resentment become habitual responses, your body remains in a constant state of tension, which can lead to a range of health issues, headaches, digestive problems, insomnia, and even heart disease. But the effects aren't just physical. Over time, constantly feeding the bad wolf also leads to emotional exhaustion. When you're stuck in a cycle of negative thinking, it drains your energy, leaving you feeling irritable, anxious, or even depressed. You may find it harder to experience joy or to appreciate the positive aspects of your life because your mind is so focused on the negative. Feeding the bad wolf doesn't just affect you, it impacts your relationships with others too. When we're angry, envious, or bitter, it can cloud our interactions with the people around us. We become more reactive, less patient, and less understanding. Over time, this can cause strain in even our closest relationships. Imagine you've had a long day at work, and everything seems to have gone wrong. You're frustrated, stressed, and angry. When you come home, your partner asks you a simple question, but because you've been feeding the bad wolf all day, your response is sharp even though they didn't do anything wrong. This small interaction, born out of your negative emotions, plants the seed of conflict. Now, this might seem like a minor incident, but these moments add up. Over time, consistently reacting from a place of anger or frustration can cause cracks in your relationships. People may start to feel like they have to walk on eggshells around them, unsure of what will set them off. Your friends and family may become more distant because your negativity becomes exhausting for them too. The bad wolf thrives in these moments. It wants to create division, to push people away, and to keep you isolated. It convinces you that you're justified in your anger, that it's everyone else's fault. But in reality, it's the bad wolf you've been feeding that's driving people away. Feeding the bad wolf also has serious consequences for your career and overall productivity. When we give in to negative emotions like envy or self-doubt, we limit our potential to grow and succeed. Let's say you're feeling envious of a coworker who seems to be moving up the ladder faster than you. Instead of focusing on improving your skills or celebrating their success, you stew in jealousy, convinced that life isn't fair. Over time, this envy can turn into resentment, not just toward that coworker, but toward your job itself. When you're stuck in this negative mindset, it's hard to stay motivated or productive. You may start to slack off at work, procrastinate, or feel disconnected from your tasks. The bad wolf feeds off this sense of dissatisfaction, keeping you in a cycle of blaming others instead of taking control of your success. Similarly, self-doubt, another emotion fueled by the bad wolf, can sabotage your career. When you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never succeed," you're feeding the fear that keeps you from taking risks or pursuing new opportunities. The bad wolf wants you to stay small, to avoid failure by never trying, but by doing so you also miss out on the chance for growth and success. The result? Stagnation. The bad wolf convinces you that your dreams are out of reach, so you stop trying to achieve them, and over time, this mindset can lead to frustration and a sense of unfulfillment in your professional life. One of the most insidious effects of feeding the bad wolf is the long-term toll it takes on your self-worth. The more you feed into negative emotions like envy, anger, and fear, the more you internalize those feelings as part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone bitter, dissatisfied, or incapable of achieving happiness. The bad wolf thrives on this erosion of self-worth. It convinces you that you don't deserve love, success, or peace. It makes you believe that the world is against you and that nothing you do will ever be enough. And the longer you allow the bad wolf to dominate, the harder it becomes to break free from this negative self-image. But here's the important truth. Your self-worth isn't determined by the bad wolf. You have the power to reclaim it by choosing to feed the good wolf instead. Every time you choose kindness, compassion, or forgiveness, you're reinforcing a positive sense of self. You're reminding yourself that you are worthy of love, peace, and joy. At this point, you might be wondering, if feeding the bad wolf leads to so many negative consequences, why do we keep doing it? Why is it so hard to stop? The answer lies in the fact that the bad wolf is sneaky. It doesn't show up as a clear villain. It disguises itself as righteous anger, justified resentment, or necessary self-defense. In moments of stress or conflict, feeding the bad wolf often feels like the easiest option. It's immediate. It gives us a temporary sense of power or release. For example, when someone wrongs you, the natural reaction is to feel anger. That anger feels justified, and in the short term it gives you a sense of control over the situation. But the more you feed into that anger, the more it controls you, keeping you trapped in a cycle of resentment. The bad wolf also feeds off fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. These fears keep us stuck in our comfort zones, convincing us that it's safer not to take risks or pursue our dreams. In this way, the bad wolf limits our potential, making us believe that we're incapable of change. But here's the key. The more we feed the bad wolf, the more it demands to be fed. It becomes stronger and more persistent, making it harder to shift our focus to the good wolf. And over time, the bad wolf becomes our default reaction to life's challenges. The good news is that it's never too late to break the cycle. The first step in shifting the balance of power between the two wolves is awareness. Once you become aware of the internal battle happening inside you, you gain the power to choose which wolf to feed. Think about the last time you felt angry or jealous. At that moment, did you stop to recognize which wolf you were feeding? If not, don't worry. Most of us go through life on autopilot, unaware of the emotional habits we've developed over time. But the moment you bring awareness to this internal struggle, you can begin to take control. The next time you feel a negative emotion rising within you, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, which wolf am I feeding right now? This simple act of mindfulness interrupts the automatic response of feeding the bad wolf and opens up the possibility of making a different choice. Now that we've explored the consequences of feeding the bad wolf, let's shift our focus to what happens when we feed the good wolf. How can choosing compassion, peace, and love transform our lives for the better? And how can we make feeding the good wolf a daily habit, even when life gets tough? In the next section, we'll explore the power of feeding the good wolf and how it can bring balance, joy, and fulfillment back into your life. We've explored how the bad wolf can drain your energy, harm relationships, and sabotage success. Now let's focus on the positive side. What happens when you consistently feed the good wolf? The answer is simple: transformation. The good wolf has the power to reshape your life from the inside out, bringing you peace, fulfillment, and deeper connections with others. When you feed the good wolf, you are actively choosing qualities like compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, and self-awareness. These choices have ripple effects on every aspect of your life, from how you interact with others to how you view yourself. It doesn't mean the challenges go away, but it does mean that you're better equipped to handle them with grace and resilience. Feeding the good wolf is not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about creating a strong foundation of inner peace that helps you navigate life's storms with clarity and calm. The more you practice feeding the good wolf, the more natural it becomes, making it easier to maintain a positive mindset even in difficult situations. Let's start with compassion. Compassion is one of the most powerful tools for feeding the good wolf, and it extends far beyond just being kind to others. True compassion involves understanding and empathy, seeing the world from someone else's perspective, and recognizing their pain. It's an active process that not only helps others, but also nurtures your sense of well-being. Think about a time when you showed compassion towards someone, whether it was helping a friend in need, comforting a loved one, or even showing kindness to a stranger. In that moment, you weren't just feeding the good wolf, you were actively starving the bad wolf of judgment, resentment, and anger. Compassion also applies to yourself. Many of us are our own worst critics, constantly feeding the bad wolf with self-doubt and harsh judgment. But when you choose to be compassionate toward yourself, to forgive your mistakes, to understand that growth is a process, you feed the good wolf within you. Self-compassion gives you the strength to overcome setbacks without being weighed down by guilt or negativity. Another essential way to feed the good wolf is through gratitude. Practicing gratitude shifts your focus away from what you lack to what you have. It's easy to get caught up in envy, comparison, and dissatisfaction, especially in a world where social media constantly shows us other people's highlight reels. But when you consciously choose to focus on the good in your life, no matter how small, you are feeding the good wolf. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring the challenges or struggles you face. It means recognizing that even in difficult times, there are things to be thankful for. Maybe it's the support of a close friend, the beauty of nature, or simply the fact that you have the strength to keep moving forward. By cultivating a habit of gratitude, you weaken the bad wolf's grip on your mind. A powerful way to practice gratitude is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you are thankful for. These don't have to be big or life-changing moments. They can be small, everyday joys like a good cup of coffee, a kind word from a coworker, or a peaceful walk in the park. The act of reflecting on these positives helps retrain your brain to focus on what's going well rather than what's lacking. Over time, gratitude has a cumulative effect. The more you focus on the good, the more you start to see it in your life. This practice also helps you build resilience, because when challenges arise, your mind is already attuned to finding the silver lining. One of the most difficult but rewarding ways to feed the good wolf is through forgiveness. Holding on to grudges and resentment is like carrying a heavy weight that drags you down emotionally and mentally. When you refuse to forgive someone, the only person you're truly hurting is yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing bad behavior or forgetting the hurt someone caused you. It means letting go of the anger and resentment that keeps you tied to that pain. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of the bad wolf, which thrives on keeping you stuck in the past. Think about a time when you held on to a grudge. How did it affect your mood, your energy, and your interactions with others? Now imagine how it would feel to release that burden, to let go of the bitterness and to move forward with peace in your heart. That's the power of forgiveness. It's an act of self-liberation, one that feeds the good wolf and allows you to experience greater emotional freedom. It's not always easy to forgive, especially when the hurt runs deep. But remember, forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. You don't have to rush it. Start by acknowledging your feelings, and then gradually work toward letting go of the anger. As you do, you'll notice how much lighter and more peaceful you feel. Feeding the good wolf requires self-awareness and mindfulness. These practices allow you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment, helping you recognize when the bad wolf is trying to take over. By cultivating mindfulness, you create space between your emotions and your reactions, giving you the power to choose your response. Imagine you're stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off. Your immediate reaction might be frustration or anger. That's the bad wolf stirring. But if you take a deep breath and pause before reacting, you create an opportunity to feed the good wolf instead. Maybe you choose to let go of the anger, recognizing that the situation isn't worth your peace of mind. This small act of mindfulness helps you reinforce the habit of feeding the good wolf, even in stressful moments. Mindfulness also helps you stay present in your daily life, appreciating the here and now rather than getting caught up in regrets about the past or worries about the future. The good wolf thrives in the present moment, while the bad wolf loves to dwell in the past or project fear into the future. By staying mindful, you keep the good wolf strong. A simple way to practice mindfulness is through meditation. Even just 5 to 10 minutes of sitting quietly and focusing on your breath can make a big difference. Meditation trains your mind to stay calm and focused, making it easier to recognize when the bad wolf is trying to take over. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to feed the good wolf consistently. Interestingly, there is also scientific support for feeding the good wolf. Positive psychology, a branch of psychology that focuses on what makes life worth living, has found that practices like gratitude, compassion, and mindfulness have measurable benefits for mental health and overall well-being. For example, research shows that gratitude can improve mood, reduce symptoms of depression, and increase life satisfaction. Similarly, practicing compassion not only improves relationships, but also boosts personal happiness. Acts of kindness release oxytocin, a hormone that promotes feelings of love and bonding, which is why helping others often makes us feel good. Mindfulness has also been shown to reduce stress, improve focus, and enhance emotional regulation. By staying present and aware of your thoughts, you can better manage negative emotions like anger and fear, giving the good wolf more room to grow. This scientific evidence reinforces the idea that feeding the good wolf isn't just a feel-good philosophy. It's a practical, effective way to improve your mental and emotional health. When you consciously choose to cultivate positive habits, you're not only feeding the good wolf, but also rewiring your brain to experience more joy, peace, and fulfillment. Of course, feeding the good wolf is easier said than done, especially in difficult moments. When life throws challenges your way, whether it's a personal loss, a betrayal, or a major setback, it's tempting to give in to the bad wolf. It's during these tough times that the internal battle becomes most intense. But these are also the moments when feeding the good wolf is most important. When faced with adversity, choosing compassion, patience, and resilience can help you navigate through it with strength and grace. Rather than letting the bad wolf take over and fill you with anger or despair, you can choose to approach the situation with a sense of calm and acceptance. This doesn't mean you won't feel negative emotions. Anger, sadness, and frustration are natural human responses, but instead of dwelling on them, you can acknowledge these emotions, process them, and then consciously decide to move forward in a way that serves your well-being. One strategy for feeding the good wolf in tough times is to practice self-compassion. Remind yourself that it's okay to struggle and that setbacks are a part of life. By treating yourself with kindness and understanding, you give the good wolf the strength to help you through the challenge. Now that we've explored the power of feeding the good wolf, the next step is to understand how to maintain this practice in your daily life. The battle between the two wolves is ongoing, and every day presents new opportunities to choose which one you will feed. But how can you stay consistent in feeding the good wolf, even when life gets tough? In the next section, we'll dive into practical tips for winning the daily battle between the good wolf and the bad wolf, and how small, consistent actions can lead to lasting change. Every day presents a new battle between the good wolf and the bad wolf. The two forces don't simply go away after a single choice. They are always there, lurking beneath the surface, ready to be fed, depending on how we respond to life's events. This internal struggle is ongoing, but the key to winning lies in consistent effort. In small moments and big ones, from how we handle a minor inconvenience to how we navigate life's most difficult challenges, the choice of which wolf to feed is always ours. And while feeding the good wolf takes intention and practice, the good news is that it gets easier with time. The more you nurture positive emotions like compassion, gratitude, and self-awareness, the more natural it becomes to lean into the good wolf's influence. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. But how can we make feeding the good wolf a daily habit? Let's explore some practical strategies. One of the most effective ways to start feeding the good wolf is by establishing a morning routine that promotes mindfulness and positivity. How you start your day often determines how you'll approach the rest of it. If you wake up feeling rushed, stressed, or frustrated, it's easy for the bad wolf to gain a foothold early on. But if you create space for mindfulness and self-care at the start of your day, you set the stage for the good wolf to lead. Here's an example of a simple morning routine that feeds the good wolf. Number 1. Gratitude practice. Begin each morning by thinking of 3 things you're grateful for. This shifts your focus to what's good in your life and primes your brain for positivity. You can write these down in a gratitude journal or simply reflect on them while you enjoy your morning coffee or tea. Number 2. Mindful breathing. Take a few minutes to sit quietly and focus on your breath. Deep breathing activates the body's relaxation response, helping you to start the day with a calm mind. This small practice of mindfulness helps you stay grounded throughout the day, making it easier to recognize and manage emotions as they arise. Number 3. Positive affirmations. Set an intention for the day by using positive affirmations. Phrases like, "I choose peace today," or "I am capable of handling whatever comes my way," can help frame your mindset and reinforce the good wolf's influence. These affirmations are reminders that, no matter what happens during the day, you have the power to choose how you respond. Number 4. Visualization. Take a moment to visualize how you want your day to go. Imagine yourself handling challenges with patience, showing kindness to others, and staying calm in stressful situations. By mentally rehearsing these positive actions, you're training your mind to feed the good wolf throughout the day. These small practices may seem simple, but they have a cumulative effect. Starting your day with mindfulness and intention helps the good wolf gain strength early on, making it easier to choose positivity in the face of challenges later in the day. Life is full of stressful situations, whether it's a tight deadline at work, a conflict with a friend, or an unexpected setback. These are the moments when the bad wolf is most likely to emerge, pushing you toward anger, frustration, or resentment. But even in the heat of the moment, you can still choose to feed the good wolf. One of the most effective tools for doing this is the power of the pause. When you feel stress rising, instead of reacting immediately, pause. Take a few deep breaths. This brief moment of mindfulness creates a gap between the stimulus, the stressful situation, and your response. It allows you to choose how you want to react, rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions. Here's a practical way to implement this. Recognize the emotion. The first step is to notice what you're feeling. Are you angry, frustrated, or anxious? Simply acknowledging the emotion gives you the awareness needed to make a conscious choice. Take a breath. Once you recognize the emotion, take a slow, deep breath. This helps calm your nervous system and prevents you from reacting impulsively. Choose your response. After taking a breath, ask yourself, which wolf do I want to feed? Do you want to give in to anger and frustration, feeding the bad wolf? Or would you prefer to respond with patience and understanding, feeding the good wolf? By consciously making this choice, you reinforce the habit of feeding the good wolf in stressful situations. This simple practice of pausing, breathing, and responding can make a world of difference in how you handle difficult moments. It may take time to develop this habit, but with practice, you'll find it easier to choose the good wolf more often, even when life gets tough. Another powerful way to feed the good wolf is by engaging in acts of kindness, both toward others and yourself. Kindness is one of the most direct ways to strengthen the good wolf because it encourages empathy, compassion, and generosity, all qualities that uplift both the giver and the receiver. Acts of kindness don't have to be grand gestures. Small, everyday acts of kindness can have just as much impact. Smiling at a stranger, holding the door open for someone, or offering a word of encouragement to a friend are all ways to feed the good wolf. Scientific research shows that acts of kindness release oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone, which promotes feelings of warmth, connection, and trust. When you perform an act of kindness, not only do you feel good, but you also strengthen your connection to others. This reinforces the good wolf's presence, helping you maintain a positive mindset. But don't forget that kindness also applies to yourself. Too often, we are kinder to others than we are to ourselves. Practicing self-compassion, whether it's giving yourself a break when you make a mistake or taking time for self-care, feeds the good wolf within you. It allows you to let go of perfectionism, reduce self-criticism, and cultivate a sense of inner peace. One of the biggest misconceptions about personal growth is that it requires massive changes all at once. But the truth is, consistency is far more important than intensity. Small, consistent actions, like pausing before reacting, practicing gratitude, and engaging in acts of kindness, add up over time and create lasting change. Feeding the good wolf is not about perfection. It's about showing up every day to make positive choices, even if you don't always get it right. Some days the bad wolf might win a few battles. You might lose your temper, fall into envy, or hold on to resentment. That's okay. The key is to recognize those moments, forgive yourself, and refocus on feeding the good wolf moving forward. Think of it like planting seeds. Each small act of kindness, each moment of mindfulness, and each decision to choose love over fear is a seed that you plant. Over time, with consistent effort, these seeds grow into habits, and those habits eventually transform your mindset and your life. Another important factor in feeding the good wolf is your environment and the people you surround yourself with. We are deeply influenced by the company we keep, and the people around us often shape our thoughts and behaviors. If you surround yourself with people who constantly feed their bad wolf, those who are negative, judgmental, or cynical, it becomes much harder for you to feed the good wolf. Their energy and attitudes can influence your mindset, dragging you into patterns of negativity. On the other hand, when you spend time with people who are compassionate, positive, and mindful, you're more likely to adopt those qualities yourself. Their presence reinforces the habit of feeding the good wolf, making it easier for you to choose love, kindness, and peace. This doesn't mean you should cut off anyone who struggles with negativity, but it's important to be mindful of how certain relationships affect your mental and emotional state. Seek out relationships that uplift you, and surround yourself with people who encourage you to be the best version of yourself. At the end of the day, the battle between the good wolf and the bad wolf is one that never ends. Every day presents new challenges, new opportunities, and new choices. But the beauty of this battle is that you are always in control. The choice is always yours. It's not about never feeling anger, fear, or envy. Those emotions are part of the human experience. It's about recognizing when those emotions arise and deciding whether to feed them. It's about choosing again and again to align yourself with compassion, gratitude, and love. The journey of feeding the good wolf is a lifelong process. Some days will be easier than others, but every time you choose to feed the good wolf, you're making an investment in your well-being, your relationships, and your overall happiness. So ask yourself, which wolf will you feed today?